Hi, Miss King here, and in this screencast we're going to be looking at a couple more of our organic compounds, lipids and nucleic acids. We're going to start with lipids, and they are made up of the elements carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, similar to our carbohydrate molecules. The monomers, or the special building blocks for lipids, are called glycerol. And there's one glycerol molecule. This is what glycerol looks like. It's a single 3-carbon chain. And then 3 fatty acid molecules. And fatty acid molecules are really long chains of carbon molecules. Okay, so they look something kind of like this green and pink picture down here. They're just really long carbon chains. Now, some common polymers or large macromolecules of lipids are fats, oils, waxes, and cholesterol, which is a type of steroid. And it's important to remember that lipids are not soluble in water. That means that they can't be dissolved in water. Lipids can be what we call saturated. This means that there's all single bonds between the carbons, and you can see here this is a saturated fatty acid. It has all single bonds between the carbons. They can also be unsaturated, which means there's one double bond, and here is a fatty acid with a double bond in the middle, okay? And basically what this does is it makes it easier to break down this molecule. Double bonds are a lot easier to break than single bonds. So unsaturated fat is better for you than saturated fat because it's easier to break it down and use the energy. Now, we're talking about saturated and unsaturated fat. We also need to keep in mind that saturated fat is usually going to be solid at room temperature. Room temp. Okay, so this is a jar of beef fat. As I cooked beef in the frying pan, when you drain the grease off of it, part of it is going to turn back into this solid saturated form when it gets to room temperature. Unsaturated fat is going to be a liquid at room temperature. And that means it's easier for us to break down and use, and is better for us. Now the reason why it's better for us, if you take a look over here at this picture, this is a picture of an artery or a blood vessel in your body that carries your blood. And this big red circle around the outside is the actual artery itself. And so this portion is the inside of the artery. And you can see, I'll use the yellow here, you can see all this stuff, this yellow looking stuff. It actually looks very similar to this. And that's because this pretty much is this. So when you eat foods that have lots of this saturated fat, when it gets into your arteries in your body, it will return to that solid form, but it will do it when it's in your blood vessels. And this is what clogs our blood vessels and leads to things like heart attacks. This is a very small opening right here for your blood to travel. It's actually supposed to have this entire space for blood flow. Okay, so if we cut off the blood flow, then that usually leads to things like stroke and heart attack. Okay, so saturated fat's really bad for you. We don't want to be eating lots and lots of red meat that has this very solid fat in it. Things like fatback and bacon, lard. You should never use lard. They should really get rid of that stuff because this is what it does to your body. Okay, it clogs up your arteries and it really does make it very dangerous for you because of stroke and heart attack. Lipids are usually found in various places like butter, cooking oils, and then this, of course, is beef fat. Now the red portion right here, that's not actually lipid, that's actually meat, that's something else. It's this white stuff that you see on the outside that represents the fat or the lipid. So don't mix that up. Don't put that the red stuff here is lipid, because it's actually not. All right, and then the functions of lipids, we of course have storing energy. So you have fat on your body to store energy for when you need it. It makes up your cell membranes, so biological membranes. A lot of the hormones that you have in your body have lipids to help make them up. And then also for insulation. It helps keep our body heat, our body temperature regulated. So fats are pretty important compounds to have in our body. Fats do contain calories. Again, we said this is the measurement of the energy in your food. So when you eat foods with fats actually contain 9 calories per gram. We said carbohydrates only had 4 calories per gram. Fats have more calories because they simply have more carbon-hydrogen bonds. Look at all these carbon-hydrogen bonds here versus what's in this small little sugar molecule, which is a carbohydrate. So because lipids are such large molecules, they're going to have more calories per gram. Now, we're going to look next at nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are also very important molecules in your body. They're made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and we're going to add nitrogen and phosphorus to that list for nucleic acids. Now, the building blocks, or the monomers, for lipids are called, for nucleic acids are called nucleotides. We need to make sure that we highlight this one, nucleotides. Nucleotides have 3 parts: a sugar. So in this drawing, this part right here is our sugar. And then we have a phosphate, so here's our phosphate. And then a nitrogen base, so this little part over here is our nitrogen base. And you can see in this picture, if we take our nucleotides and connect them together one at a time, it builds this sort of ladder-like structure. Now the polymers, or the large molecules that nucleic acids become, are called deoxyribonucleic acid, or what you may know as DNA, ribonucleic acid, or RNA, and adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. And the function of nucleic acid, of course, is to store genetic code. So these are kind of like the instructions that your body uses to build itself, basically. Okay, and that is lipids and nucleic acids. In the next screencast, we're going to look at the last organic compound, which is protein.